You're listening to The Dangerous Mind of Mark Yoshimoto Nemkov. No excuses, no BS, no pants.
Welcome to the Microphone Playboy Podcast, an audio-only companion series for the content on this channel. And why Microphone Playboy, you ask? Well, I feel like I'm the guy who has a microphone in every port, so to speak. I'm a microphone Lothario, admittedly. I have more microphones than I need. I crave microphones. I'm just a microphone addict. And Microphone Addict didn't sound quite nearly as compelling as Microphone Playboy. And quite honestly, considering the work that I do, I almost feel like I should have called the channel the Microphone Prostitute. But Microphone Playboy felt a little bit more true to the intent of what I want to do here. Because I have a lot of really cool ideas for audio-only content. Because I love audio-only. Because it allows you to just focus on the sound of the microphone. And especially this one. I want you to listen to this one because this is the SE Electronics 4400, which I just received courtesy of SE Electronics. Now, I had heard that this was a really great mic from a lot of people. I've never used an SE Electronics mic. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I'm a mic snob, right? So being a mic snob, I guess I looked down my nose upon them. I thought they weren't really pro-level mics. And then I heard from a lot of people that they were great. So I wrote to SE and I'm like, I hear these mics will be really nice for voiceover. And they were like, sure, we'll send you one. Now I'm under no obligation to say anything nice about this mic. I wasn't even asked to review the mic. But I have to tell you, spoiler alert, I really like the way this sounds. And I feel that it's different enough from everything else I have in my collection that it really has a spot here in the lineup. But admittedly at first, I wasn't really that impressed. And there's a weird thing that happens. I realized that the first time I listen to a microphone, I always enter into it with a bias, with a preconceived notion of what I think it's going to sound like, based upon previous experience. And, a lot of times I'm wrong. And this was one of them. Because I'm looking at this thing and my mind is telling me that it's going to sound more like a 414, right? And when I plug it in, I'm listening to it initially through a transformerless preamp, through the Cranbourne Camden 500, which is a very clean preamp with very little distortion. And you can dial in some extra, they call it mojo, right? They have a little dial on there, a little switch, and you can choose between extra harmonic distortion, which they call cream, or you can kind of thicken up the bottom end, more transformer-like, which they call thump. So I'm listening to it flat. And I'm a little bit underwhelmed by it. I'm like, this sounds really plain vanilla. Nothing interesting is happening when I listen to it. So at first I was like, okay, I don't know if I'm going to like this or not. And I realized, wait a second, I need to walk away. I need to just kind of sit back and think about this for a moment. And as I went outside to enjoy the beautiful summer day for a while and let it all marinate in my head, I thought, wait a second. Maybe it's because I'm not really getting into this sound of the clean, transformerless preamp with this very clean microphone. It occurred to me, wait a second, the microphone has to be really clean sounding in order for it to be that. I'm not going to call it clinical. I'm not going to call it boring clean. But it wasn't just, it didn't tickle my fancy. And my fancy needs to be tickled in a certain way. Because the majority of the work that I do is advertising related. So I'm often, almost always using a mid-forward sound. And I'm thinking, you know what? Even though it's kind of a flatter sounding mic and it has a bright top end, it's, definitely not a 414. 414 has like a U-shaped EQ curve built into it. It's got a more low end and more high end and kind of like a scooped middle. And so that's a sound that a lot of people love on instruments, but not necessarily something that I feel works on voiceover for me. So I was kind of expecting more of that. And when I felt like the low end was a little bit lean and the high end a little bit bright, I was like, I don't know, it's not working. And then I realized, wait a second, I think I'm using it with the wrong preamp. So I came back in and I plugged it in through my Hairball Lola. Now, the Hairball Lola is a really interesting preamp because it's basically half of a Hardy M1 style preamp. But when I say Hardy M1, I mean this is a transformer-fed preamp that's supposed to be very clean, okay? So a very flat-ish frequency response that is enhanced by transformers in the circuit. And the transformers in the Hardy and in like the Hairball Gold, which is kind of a very much, I don't want to say a copy of, but very much an homage to the very kind of same topology as the Hardy. I'm rambling now, but you get what I'm talking about. So the transformers in the Hardy and the Hairball Gold give it a little bit more just heft, a little bit more oomph, you know? Not a lot. And in the Lola is very much like the Hairball Gold. It has the same Jensen transformers. So very clean, but still you get that transformer presence. But the Lola, my sweet Lola, Lola Lola, she's got two BA512 style op amps, which are Neeve style op amps. You're getting more of that Neeve thickness. You're getting more of like the way that the transients slow down just a little bit. It's given a little bit more time, a little bit more lushness, but not a lot. So it's not a Neeve sound. It's almost like an in-between, like a clean Hardy sound and a Neeve, like basically a 1073-ish sound, but with more detail than Neeve. So kind of right there in the middle. And I was like, wow, that's it. That is the sound I really like. So that's what you're hearing right now. You're hearing the 4400 going through the Hairball Lola. And I really like this a lot. You're hearing it now. So the 4400 is cool because it has four polar patterns. All right? Omni, which I don't care about, Figure 8, Cardioid, and Hypercard. And you're listening to it right now in Hypercard, right? And I feel I love this sound. So let me hold on. I'm going to switch it over to Cardioid. So now it's in Cardioid. And you can hear it's not quite as forward. It's definitely a little bit more neutral, right? It doesn't sound bad, but I definitely prefer it in Hypercard. Let me switch to Hypercard. So back in Hypercard, right? You can hear kind of the low mids fill out a little bit, but it's not really affecting the top end. The top end, I think, smooths out just a tiny bit more in Hypercard. But I think this is really a great sound for voiceover, okay? Now, this to me, like when it comes to transformerless mics, I don't think I can buy a cardioid-only transformerless mic anymore because I really also like, here's the sound of Figure 8. Hold on, all right, so this is Figure 8. And what I really dig about Figure 8 is that you get a little bit more of the room because you have both sides of the capsule basically wide open, right? It's not cardioid where you're only using the front of the capsule or Hypercard where you're using just a little bit of the rear capsule in order to get a tighter lobe out front. But, with Figure 8, and then there's good rejection over here by the side. It's no camera, so you can't really see it. But, I like Figure 8 for voiceover stuff. Don't sleep on Figure 8 for voiceover at all. It may depend on the room you're in, and I may benefit greatly from having this tiny booth for Figure 8. But I like the sound of Figure 8. Figure 8 for me is very usable. And I think you can get a lot of emotion out of Figure 8. But let me get back to there we go, back to Hypercard. So this to me, though, is a great sound. I really dig this. And while it may not be super mid-forward, while it may not be the kind of sound that I can use on everything, there is definitely a lot that I feel I can do with the type of work that I do. My bread and butter is mid-forward advertising sound, U87 sound, commercials, the nice mid-forward, upper mid-forward push to help cut through a bed and just be a little bit more of that advertising aggressive sound. But the sound of this, it just feels a lot more natural to me. And I feel like natural is really in right now for voiceover. I keep saying this. I may have said this like 100 times by now. But the natural sound of just you talking and not sounding like advertising is something that I feel like clients and producers have asked for quite a bit. over the last year or so, more so than ever before. So a more natural sound is something that I've been looking for, but I didn't want it to be so clinical. I wanted it to still have like a little bit of the I don't know. I don't want to say mojo because I don't want you confused with the mojo like on the Camden thing, but just a little bit more vibe. And I feel this is very vibey, yet very natural, yet also very usable for almost anything, right? This is good for content. This is good for narration. So you could do a lot of voiceover with it. This is even good for commercials, but like if I know it's the kind of commercial where it's possibly just only voice, your naked voice, no music bed, or the music bed's going to be light. Like, if I know that the music bed, like I know if it's something that's going to be aggressive or a little bit, if I know they're going to be like distorted guitars in the music bed, based upon working with that client, based upon like information they give me, then I'm going to cut it on something that's really mid-forward to help cut through that. Because guitars, especially distorted guitars, the overlap in where the meat of that frequency of those guitars and voice often overlap, which is one of the reasons why a lot of heavy metal singers sing like up high, like in a higher octave, so that you're not competing with the guitars. And a lot of times when you hear guys who have lower voices in guitar music, the guitars feel scooped out in the middle in order to make room for the voice. So this, I think, works for me on a lot of different levels for a lot of different kinds of work. I'm really pleased with this mic. I was not expecting it to be this good. And what's really cool is the overall kit is nice, right? But it's simple, right? It's just a shock mount, and they give you an extra set of elastics, which everyone should do. Any microphone manufacturer that sends you a shock mount that does not give you an extra set of elastics, we should march on their headquarters with torches and pitchforks because that should be against the law. So you get an extra set of elastics. The shock mount is very simple, but it's very effective. The microphone is great. I mean, listen to it. The proof is in the pudding, right? So eat up the pudding because it's delicious. So the SE Electronics 4400, there will be more on-camera demo of this, but I wanted to give you a first listen, and I want to get your feedback on it. So I really dig it. And I think that for me, having a transformer in the signal path really brings it to life for me. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling this mic, and it's a good thing. It warms the cockles of my heart. So what do you think of the sound of the SE 4400? Let me know. So audio-only content. So recently I became aware that there are a number of you who only listen to the videos and don't watch them, which is fine because really most of the time I'm just sitting there on camera talking into a microphone. There's really no need to watch. The video, for the most part, is extraneous. But, there are certain times when I do demonstrate something on camera or show some kind of graphic or something. There are sometimes the video element is necessary, and a lot of times it's just me talking. So I've heard that some of you just listen, like in the car, or like, while you're doing other things around the house. And, Rick, Dr. Fix, you guys, I'm looking at you. I know Michael does stuff around the house while he's listening to the videos. And that's cool. I love that. I love the fact that the content that I'm doing translates well just in the audio. And while I'm not going to give up doing video content, there's a lot of stuff I want to do which I feel like could just be done in audio and would allow me to actually create more content. Because, my process. If you watched any of the previous 400 videos, you'll know that I do no editing. I just turn the camera on and I yammer on for, it seems to be about 5 to 8, maybe 10 minutes on average. And then I shut the camera off and then just kind of hack it together and put it out. I mean, the production process is fairly uncomplicated because generally a lot of the times I'm recording video, I'm doing it during the workday. I may have a break or I may do it before, during my warm-ups or something in the morning, especially when my voice sounds best. And, so a lot of times it's just run and gun. And sometimes I have notes that I make beforehand. But a lot of times it's just really ad-libbed stuff. And, then I have to go and make sure the video is, sometimes I actually record stuff on video and I find that I don't want to release it because of something wrong with the video. And sometimes it's because I've been working and I take a little break in between working and then I cut a video and I realize, oh, you know what? I actually have a stain on my shirt and I don't want the conversation about the post video conversation in the comments to be about a stain on my shirt because I dripped like a sauce during lunch on my collar or something. And there was one time I didn't release the video because I'd been working in the booth and I'd worked up a sweat and my face looked all sweaty from that. And I was like, okay, that looks like maybe I have some kind of fever or something. But I'd done a bunch of animation voice stuff. And so I was very animated and I was like, okay, there are times when I just want to talk. And there are times when, late night comes and I don't want to turn the camera on. I just want to talk. But there are also things that I want to do audio only that I think you will really like. And some of that involves audio fiction and possibly audio nonfiction. But I'm going to dip back into the well of some of my writing, some of my books, and I'm going to release something shortly that I think I like this idea, and I'm hoping you'll like it too. I am going to re-narrate a new version, a 2024 version of my Parsec award-winning novel Number 1 with a Bullet. Except what I'm going to do is each chapter, there are 15 different chapters. Each chapter I'm going to narrate on a different microphone. So you can hear the difference between these different microphones, the 87, the 89. I'll probably throw the butter stick in there. I haven't really decided the lineup yet. But I'm going to do each chapter with a different microphone so that there's a really comprehensive comparison because what I really want you to listen for, when you compare two microphones side by side, if I read, like a lot of times in video, right, you'll see me, I'll read like a commercial or like a tag even, but it's a very brief piece of content and I'm reading it between two microphones. And that's okay, I guess, if you want to hear the difference between them, but really the key element with a recording is, can I make you feel something? Can I make you feel what you need to feel, what I want you to feel, what you're supposed to feel? Especially if I'm telling a story. Good branding is always storytelling too, so it's not unimportant for you to feel something. So if I do this in a way where you're listening for a period of time, like a chapter of a book, and this may be like a 20-minute long recording, and if you listen to successive chapters of the book, which I hope you will, you can compare the difference between these mics doing the same thing in a similar environment. I'll use the same preamp. I'll go through the MT48, very clean, super hyper clean preamp, so you can just hear the microphone. All right, so I'm hoping this works out. I've just started recording the very first chapter, revisiting this book, and I think it's going to be fun. I also have some other stuff. I have other books to draw from, but I also have a fully produced audio drama called Shadow Falls. And that came out in 2006, I don't remember. It came out a long time ago because I started podcasting. Believe it or not, I started podcasting, this is crazy, in 2005. So I found a fully produced audio drama that I did with the company I worked for. I was an executive at Pod Show, but that's a story for another time. This audio drama I wrote, produced, everything. It's a whole story behind it. If I can find the WAV files for this, I'm going to drop it in this feed, in the Microphone Playboy feed, which is just going to be part of the regular show feed. So anyway, I got some ideas coming that I think you'll like. Audio-only content. Let me know what you think. The Microphone Playboy is here, and we're going to throw some stuff against the wall and see what sticks. All right, tell me what you're thinking. Audio-only content. All right, until next time, this is Mark Yoshimoto Nemkov on the SE Electronics 4400. Fading to black.
4400 by SE Electronics, a compact microphone with multi-pattern sonics. It comes in a case that's inside a box. You should keep the mic safe like it's locked in Fort Knox. Just 13 dB of noise, the specs look pretty tasty. Transformer-less circuit to keep your transient tasty. 25 dB of mic sensitivity. is your completely 10 and 20 dB pads are more than sufficient. 40 and 80 HPF for cuts quite efficient. Perhaps the real headline is polar patterns times 4. It's like a multi-pattern mic that gives you one more. And that hypercardioid, a great sonic feature, a tighter polar pattern, a perfect VO creature. And inside the basket a capsule like a K67, so it's a bit brighter like a 414 meets a U87. And at a price point coming in just under $1,000. This may be the mic you're looking for to hang on your mic stand.